How's it going, everybody? I wanted to make a video about my walkaway experience. My experience happened in the mid 90s. In my mid 40s now, I remember voting for Bill Clinton. I remember him going to the Arsenio Hall show and playing the saxophone. And being young, I thought, that's cool. I can get down with that president. I grew up with Reagan. He was a president that, when I look at my childhood, I think about Ronald Reagan since he was president for so long. But having a fresh face come onto the scene, someone that was hip and cool, I thought was something that I could get with. I figured it was the popular vote. Everybody was going for him, being black. Um, Most blacks vote Democrat, and he was a cool black um, choice for the Democratic Party, and I just figured it was the right thing to do. But after that first vote, I started wondering, why do all blacks vote Democrat? Why is it automatic that they get our vote? What have they done that has this endless effect of them automatically getting our vote? Well, back then, information wasn't as free flowing as it is today. But I did some research. I read some books and I watched everything I could about the civil rights movement, African Americans in the 50s and 60s, and how they got support from the government. And I learned that a lot of African Americans had based their opinions on the Kennedys coming and helping the blacks out in that time of need and during that era. But I dug a little deeper and I found out that, although the Kennedys did help, Robert Kennedy and John F. Kennedy did help, they knew nothing about black people. They had to be taught, they had to be educated on the situation for what black people were going through at that time. Coming from Massachusetts, they kind of lived in their own pampered world. They knew nothing of the South. Um, of course, they saw things that were in the news, but it was something that they wanted to keep their hands out of because they didn't want to lose the Southern Democratic states' um, support during that era. And all the times that the Kennedys helped blacks during that time, they wanted it to be kept secret. They didn't want anybody knowing that they were helping blacks because they didn't want to lose that staunch Southern Democratic support. And I looked as I got older and I realized that growing up in the South, that how in the heck can blacks support the Democrats when all the Southern states, the Jim Crow laws, the terrorist organizations of the time, i.e., like the Klan, I guess that's the one that everybody knows, they were all Southern. They were all Southern Democrats. And I just couldn't understand why blacks could support the regime or the party that suppressed them for all those years, just because the acts of a couple of acts of by President Kennedy, some things by Robert Kennedy, and by that party at the time. How could they automatically get our vote for things that were done 30, 40 years ago? Now, when Reagan came along, I know that there was a Nixon in between. Um, when Reagan came along, the country was going through an economic struggle, and a lot of blacks suffered. Um, and even though his policies that he had to change the government, change our situation as a nation, it took some time. But after he was gone and Bush 1 took over, the economic turns that Reagan had put into place started to turn around, started to turn our nation around, and we could see the benefits of that. And yet still blacks continued to support the Democratic Party. Now, was it just out of tradition? Was it just out of laziness of not trying to dig into what the Democratic Party had done to deserve that? It got to the point where I realized that we were being taken advantage of as blacks. Democrats felt that they automatically got our vote. They would promise us a few things, grease the wheels a couple of times for, supposed black leaders. And they would go out there and do the dirty work and tell us to support the Democratic Party for no reason. After Clinton's first election, after he was first elected, and doing my research, I realized that we were just being told that the Democratic Party was the party for blacks. Republicans were the party of the rich white conservatives. And I said, well, if the Republican Party is a party of rich white conservatives, and the Democrats are the party of challenged and poor blacks, I want to be part of the party that's for the rich conservatives, because somewhere down the line I want to be rich and I want to know who has my best interest at heart. And I couldn't, after doing research and living through Clinton's first term, I could no longer go back to voting Democrat. Now, I was ostracized by my family, um, close family, extended family, friends. They just couldn't realize or understand why I would vote for Republican, why I would turn conservative. There are a lot of black conservatives that were out there, and we were hidden. We were felt to, we were made to feel like we were Coons, Uncle Toms, Oreos. Um, I could go on and on and on. Bojangling, buck dancing for the Republican Party. But when I ask a Democrat, why do you vote for a Democrat? Being African American, being black, why would you vote for a Democrat? And basically the answer I got was because blacks vote for Democrats. That's not an answer for me. I never thought that following the herd was the way to get something done. And now in this climate that we have going on now, a lot of people, African Americans and a little bit of everybody have decided to do some research, and they finally seen that the Democratic Party is the party of oppression of black people. And it's that mentality that I can get you all the help that you need. Without me, you can't do anything. Instead of empowering black people and saying, if I give you the tools, you can do things yourself, as the conservatives do, they put themselves out there as being the purveyor of everything that's right for African Americans. And we lap it up. And I no longer can sit back and take it. We are looked upon as black conservatives as being off of the plantation, off of our rockers. Yet Democrats are the first ones to say, be your own person. Think for yourself. But that only means if you agree with them, and especially black Democrats. The first time somebody starts thinking for themselves and they say, you know what, I really don't agree with the Democratic Party. I think I'm going to try the Republican Party for at least a little while to see what they're doing for the African American community. Blacks turn on them like I don't know what. And it's just so blatant now that the people that you feel like are your friends and you feel like you can tell them anything, as soon as you tell them you're a conservative, they turn their back on you. Now, for years and years and years, and I know that I'm not the only one, when you tell somebody you're a conservative, they kind of looked at you out of amazement, like, what planet did you come from? And you try to explain to them the policies and the acts and the things that the Republican Party has done, the conservative party of conservatives has done for blacks. They don't want to hear it. And it's a brainwashing. The fact that all of these years, these decades, that the Democratic Party gets our vote for no reason. Now, Bill Clinton was said to be the first black president. And at that time, I went with that because I was young. I didn't know any better. And I voted for him and didn't really dive deep into it. But if you remember in his terms, that blacks were targeted more than anybody. If you look back on, there's tons of news shows from the early '90s and the '90s during his term, where everything was black, black and crack, crack and black crack, black and crack, crack and black, and to the point where they deemed some criminals as super predators, not just regular criminals, but super predators. And when they said that, that was basically a catchphrase to mean black, three strike rule. Of course, yes, there are some criminals out there that need to be put in jail and never let out. But to give these non-violent offenders an exorbitant amount of time behind bars for possessions and things such as that, and to label them as super predators, that was under the Clinton reign. That was under the Clinton administration. And when Hillary came along and tried to erase all the things that her husband did, people said, well, you can't blame Hillary for what her husband did. Well, no, you can't. But you look back, and she was right along there, too. It wasn't like she was just a first lady that sat in the rose garden and planted flowers and, hosted parties. She was an active voice in his administration. And I couldn't understand why so many black people were on her team just because they didn't want to get with the conservative. There were so many black people that disregarded the things that went on in her husband's term that she had a hand in. There were so many things that they brushed under the rug because she was a Democrat, and supposedly Democrats have the black people's best interest at mind, at heart. Trump comes along, and we had been praying for someone that wasn't a career politician, someone that could come in that didn't owe anything to anybody, just to come in and clean things up. And Trump came in, never an elected official, never held office, someone that was not in that mold as far as being a person that grew up in the political system. And we thought, as conservatives and Republicans, that he would be cheered and at least given a chance. And I'm amazed and astonished how many black people have not given the president a chance, not even a chance to say, let's see what this man can do. The only choice that the Democratic Party had was Hillary Clinton. And she felt like she was entitled to that position because of her husband. She felt like she's going to ride the coattails of her husband and just automatically get the black vote. And yes, there were tons of black people that gave her their support. And when she was at the DNC, and I saw the black people that were in there cheering and ranting and raving for her, it hurt my heart because I realized that they were not enlightened to the point where how many of their families were affected, how many loved ones were affected by the regime of Bill Clinton. How many people in that audience had cousins and nephews and brothers and sisters and nieces and aunts and aunts that were affected by the drug policies and the sentences that were gone unnoticed and unchallenged in the Clinton era? How many people had relatives that were affected by the policies that her husband put in place? Yet they were up there, and I dare to say, buck dancing for Hillary Clinton. They saw nothing wrong with that. Not to look back and say, well, let's have some account for what your husband did. What are your policies? And once again, they gave her their support just because she was a Democrat. Now, I look at this walk-away movement, and I see a lot of people coming out of the woodworks and actually opening their eyes up and seeing, hey, the Democratic Party now is not what it once was. Even as close as several years back, it's not the same party. This is the party of fear, intimidation, name calling, violence. You can't even have an opinion that differs from a Democrat now because it turns into violence, and it turns into nastiness and rudeness, and this Trump derangement syndrome. At first I thought was a joke, but since he's been elected, I know that they made a pledge every day that he was in office to disrupt and do their best to protest anything he does. Now, Democrats were used to be the party of change and smaller government, and now it just seems like they're the party of nastiness and rudeness. Well, I look back at my days as being a closeted conservative to the point where it just used to be family and friends that I was um, at odds with when it came to my political views. Now, being a conservative, it's almost you put your life on your in your hands. If you say that you're a Trump supporter, if you say you're a proud American, you kind of put your safety in your own hands. And once again, conservatives are not um, able to feel like they're free to disagree with someone. And that's just not the America I grew up in. Sure, there were a lot of people that didn't agree with some of Ronald Reagan's policies, but you didn't have to fear, someone spitting on you or throwing things at you or threatening you or ripping your hat off your head or telling you to take your flag down. That's to me that's fear and intimidation, and that's what the Democratic Party has become. And I'm glad that many have seen that and have decided to walk away. Now, I feel like as a coon and an Oreo and a buck dancer for the Conservative Party, I feel a little bit vindicated now because although I'm not judging, the very people that have walked away and have proudly walked away, I'm sure some of the same people that argued up and down with conservatives when Obama was president and during his 2 terms. I'm sure they're the same people that had family members that were conservatives that they chided, they ridiculed, they made fun of because they were conservatives. Now they're enlightened, and I feel like you can go to those conservatives in your family or in your office or friends and say, I finally woke up and you were right. So us coons can feel vindicated for the venom that you spewed at us for the past 25 years. Now we're not looking for an apology. We're not looking for a, a reason for what you did. But now that you've walked away, we have kind of a smirk going, you finally caught on. And I'm proud that you caught on. Bravo, you know, bravo for finally having your eyes open and seeing that the Democratic Party is a party of repression. The party of, you can't make it without me. Trump may not be perfect, and even conservatives will say that. He's not perfect, but I feel that he's given opportunities to all races to make a better life. Being a legal American, come in and do things the right way, and opportunities will be given to you just like they're given to naturalized American-born citizens. I don't see anything wrong with that. You can't go into any other country and demand and march that you deserve rights of a country that you're not even a citizen of. And yet there are Democrats that feel like everybody deserves a vote. Well, I don't understand why women had to fight for the right to vote. African Americans had to fight for the right to vote. Yet you have tons of illegals flooding in from Mexico that aren't fighting for the right to vote. They're demanding the right to vote without going through the proper channels. Yet they flood our borders, and Democrats think that it's okay, mainly because they feel if illegal aliens have the right to vote, they're going to vote for the Democratic Party. Well, if you look at Hispanics that are legal citizens that come to this country the legal way, they too disagree with the fact that illegal aliens should have the right to vote. Because you can't go to Mexico, not be a citizen of their country, and vote in their elections. I don't see why Americans feel like it's okay for them to come to our country and drive and vote and run for office if they're illegal. That makes no sense to me. I once had a meaningful discussion with a coworker who was conservative. Was a Democrat, was a liberal Democrat. This was during the Obama administration. And I asked her, I said, I don't understand the party that agrees with killing babies, with Planned Parenthood, fight for the right to kill babies, innocent babies that never had a chance in life. The Democrats will fight for the right to kill those babies, but yet fight not to have people put to death with the lethal injection. I just couldn't understand that party. You don't want to give an innocent life to a baby that's never sinned. It's okay to kill them, but it's not okay to kill convicted felons for the crimes that they committed against humanity. And she couldn't explain that to me. She pretty much just got up and walked off because there was no rhyme or reason behind it. You want to kill the innocent, but let the convicted live. Once I broke things down to her like that, she had no argument. She just pretty much told me, well, I vote Democrat because I'm black. And that to me said she was on the plantation and didn't plan on getting off just because her parents and grandparents had voted Democrat. She automatically had to vote Democrat without doing any research. And I thought that was sad. So when I look at this walk away movement, I'm proud of African Americans that have walked away. I'm proud of everybody that have walked away and actually seen the carnage that the Democratic Party has in their wake. I'll give you a couple of pointers. When you tell people you're conservative and you switched over, you're going to face some ridicule. You're going to get some stares. You're going to get those that argue you up and down. You're going to get some backstabbing. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some people that are close to you. And you're going to learn that there's no way to argue with a liberal Democrat. You pretty much just have to state your case and walk away. Because liberals have come to the point where they're not listening to reason. They're not wanting to debate. They want to bully. So coming from I would say, lifelong conservative, the Sean Hannitys and the conservative shows, the Fox News channels, and all those shows that are talking to these new people from the walk away movement. If you want to talk to somebody that's been a lifelong conservative and had to hide in a closet, be on the back burner and be shunned. If you want to talk to a conservative, Jesse Waters, if you want to talk to a conservative that has been had to be in the proverbial closet for their conservative views for the past 4 or 5 presidents, you talk to me. Give me a ring, and I'll let you know. Now these new crop of walk-away movement people have come up, and they've popped their head up out of the sand, and I'm proud that we get to support. Hopefully next term, next time around, we can keep our conservatives and the House and everything. We can get all that stuff taken care of and shore up a conservative movement for the next several years. But if you want to talk to somebody that's had to be solid on their views at the barbershop, at family reunions, at the store, at church, you want to talk to somebody who had to cut off conversations in the grocery store because they automatically assumed because I was black, I was an Obama supporter, and you just kind of look like, is this conversation worth getting into an argument to? You just kind of shrug your shoulders. If you want to talk to a lifelong conservative to let you know how it's been, when I walked away years ago, what I've had to deal with, you send me an email, you drop me a line and talk to me, because I'll let you know how these people that now have walked away have treated us in the past. Being a black conservative, we were lonelier than the Maytag man. You talk to me, and I'll let you know how it's been over these past couple of decades being a closeted black conservative. I'm glad everybody's walked away. It's time that everybody has turned the lights on and got their heads out of the sand. But I'm sending this to Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters and Fox News, all of these new people that are coming out in the walk away movement. Yes, I'm happy for them, but instead of just interviewing the enlightened, the newly enlightened, talk about the people that have been forced in the shadows over these past few decades. Interview us and let us tell you how it's been over this time, listening to Rush and having to turn the radio down when somebody gets in your car because you don't want to be called an Uncle Tom, an Oreo, or when you pull up at a store and you have Sean Hannity on the radio, and black people look at you crazy because they're so busy listening to a Drake song or Lil Wayne song that they look at you like you're from another planet because you're listening to conservative talk radio. Talk to us. We'll give you a lowdown on what's been going down and how this last election between Trump and Clinton affected us. That we finally feel like we can come out and we have some support from people that we never thought we would get support from. So that's my walkaway movement. Um, that's my experience in the walkaway movement. I'm happy for those that have finally become enlightened. Um, have a thick skin. Do your research. Hold steadfast. God bless. God bless America. And God bless you.